Hello, and thank you for joining the India Neurodiversity Summit. My name is Nat Lyckowski, and I am proudly neurodivergent. And I'm also honored to be the Global Neurodiversity Advancement Leader in IBM US. With me today, I have a wonderful colleague, JJ, and I'll let him introduce himself.
Thanks, Nat. Hi, I'm JJ Cherian or John Jacob Cherian. I'm proudly neurodivergent myself. I am part of the business resource group, and I work with teams across Asia on suggestions of how to be how to interact with neurodivergence and things like that. Back to you, Nat.
Thanks so much for joining us today. And again, thanks for all of our listeners attending the summit today. We're going to be talking a little bit about IBM's neurodiversity journey and what we're doing today and where we've come from. So if we start at the beginning, at IBM for over 100 years, we have embraced diversity. Diversity of race, of ethnicity, of gender, of ability, of sexual orientation and identity and genetics, and many other factors. But if we stop and think, how else can we improve diversity? And what about diversity of the mind? And this leads to what neurodiversity is. Neurodiversity is a concept where neurological differences are to be accepted and respected as any other human variation. And these differences can include autism, ADHD, dyslexia, dyscalculia, dyspraxia, Tourette syndrome, and many, many other neurological differences. And these differences need to be viewed as variations of the human condition and not a disease to be cured. And we need your help to increase awareness, but move towards acceptance. We're going to share with you a quick thought experiment today. And I'd like for you to pause for a moment and think of a bird, how it moves, and how it lives. I'll give you a moment to think of your bird. The bird that I'm thinking of and that I identify with is a penguin. I don't fly. I use my wings for swimming and not flight. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do not need to be fixed or cured. It's the environment that we are in that enables us to thrive. If you put me, the penguin, in the middle of a rainforest, I am not going to do well. But if you need someone with swimming skills and the fortitude to survive in very cold temperatures and raise their chick without even a nest, I'm your bird. In the same way, a flamingo would not do well in my environment. It's a matter of looking at differences as strengths. In the neurodiversity community, terminology and imagery are very important. So we use identifying terms like saying an autistic person or a neurodivergent person. And we do not use person with autism or that has dyslexia or on the spectrum, because we would not say, I'm a person with womanness. This is who I am. Now, granted, these are defaults. So if you ever speak to a neurodivergent who says they prefer to identify themselves as saying they have autism or ADHD, then that obviously would override this default. No one but themselves gets to choose how they want to identify. The same thing goes with imagery. We embrace progressive imagery that depicts continuity and completeness because we are complete people and we are not missing a piece. You may be familiar with the puzzle piece graphic icon and incomplete component graphics that are really microaggressions against the community. You may also see these icons with very brightly colored pictures, and that fosters a stereotype that these differences are only found in children or only found in little boys. But most neurodivergents, like myself and JJ, eventually do grow up. If you like a little bit of history, neurodiversity is actually at the heart of IBM. The diagram you see, or the photo, is of the punch card tabulator. And this was invented by Herman Hollerith. He himself was neurodivergent with a cognitive processing disability. And there are stories that during spelling tests in his elementary school that he literally jumped out of the window to avoid these spelling tests because he was not good at that and was judged on that aspect. But if you look at his history, he received his engineering degree from Columbia University at the tender age of 19, and then worked through his years to be an inventor and eventually one of the founding fathers that helped form IBM. I'm now going to share with you a brief video made by IBM Neurodivergence, scripted and voiced over by Neurodivergence about what's it like to be neurodivergent at IBM.
What does it mean to be autistic or to be neurodivergent?
To be told that you are too sensitive, too honest, too literal, to be misunderstood.
The complexities of being neurodivergent in today's world are multi-layered and confusing at best, leading to thousands being unemployed with devastating impacts.
At IBM, we decided to rewrite the rulebooks, break down traditional employment barriers, and to hire neurodivergents globally, like me.
And to support and accept the neurodivergents that are already here at IBM, like me.
To move beyond awareness into acceptance, and not only of autistics, but dyslexics, ADHDers, and beyond.
To respect neurological differences as any other human variation. To be equal.
To be equal.
To be equal.
To be equal. Today, with neurodivergent IBMers, like me, we can bring a new perspective.
To share our strengths and passions, and work with others who share our goals.
So we all better understand ourselves.
Together we know our own business better, inside out.
Develop advanced solutions on very complex platforms.
Across the blockchain, on cloud, or within cognitive systems.
The truth is, our approach to neurodivergent talent has made IBM more agile, faster, better.
More human.
More human.
IBM puts smart to work with neurodivergent professionals.
JJ, now over to you.
Thank you so much, Nat. Team, as we were looking at the beautiful world of being neurodivergent, we found some really surprising statistics. 1 in 50 individuals are autistic. 1 in 20 individuals are neurodivergent. Did you know that 85% of the unemployed college students rate is autistic adults? 66% of the higher job loyalty is to neurodivergence. New skills were brought to the workplace by 32%. Now compare that to peers. Autism at work, employees are 48% faster and as much as 92% more productive as per JP Morgan. No significant cost to provide adjustments to neurodivergent people, but as you can see, the efficiency is way better. The only thing that one needs to do is to understand and take an open mind to help them do a better job at how they do it. So these are some interesting statistics, and this comes to a very important thing on why you have to hire neurodivergent people. As you can see, it's very important to be inclusive, but you can advance engagement and creativity and innovation throughout your organization just by being more inclusive. And with neurodivergent employees, there's so much more benefit. So the realities of a neurodiverse workforce, as you will see in the next page: original thinking, pattern recognition, passionate, honest, and fair, intense focus, and persistence. These are strengths which are very important in problem solving. Some of the outcomes, as you can understand, would be innovation, increased revenue, corporate reputation, and neurodiversity hires achieve independence. But unfortunately, like everyone, there are challenges. There will be differences in communications, changes in work environment, expectation of eye contact, HR interview process, emotional regulation, sensitivities, and most important, social interactions. 56% of employees report positive adaptations in work culture with no significant additional cost to employees. Just imagine the importance of hiring neurodivergent workforce. Some of the neurodivergent behaviors, as you can see, they experience discomfort and or pain to external environments, loud noises, sound, lights, smells, temperatures. And don't we all face this? It's just that certain people, the reaction is way much more. May be perceived as being rude, may talk too long, interrupt, not look you in your eyes. This is again a very sad way people interpret neurodivergence. Often misunderstood and viewed as too honest. This is another challenge. May shut down on occasions if under or overstimulated, need time to rest. And here in situations like this, it's important that you give the employee the space. This shouldn't be confused with tantrums or manipulation techniques. This is just a way for the person to adjust to the situation that they're facing. And as you would see in the next coming points, they might display techniques such as pacing, rocking, or fidgeting, also known as stimming. You will also see some of them showing a combination of differences of dyslexia and ADHD. Not able to pass standard job interviews. Education and acceptance is paramount to hiring. And most important, next. As you can see, the objective of the Neurodiversity program at IBM is to establish a defined strategy with set standards, outcomes, and goals, which includes being friendly hiring, development opportunities, and training for all employees. The benefit, as you saw, is a lot, but how do you make everybody be inclusive and accepting? And for that, we have a vision: incorporate neurodivergent friendly hiring strategies into the mainstream so that it becomes the way everyone is hired and not just neurodiversity specific talent. The mission, as I said, is to build competitively differentiated workforce based on skills. And the IBM Global Business Group on Neurodiversity at IBM is very important because it works with the hiring community, it works with employees, it works with managers and encourages them on how to be accepting and inclusive. We have ways and means in which we actually get in touch with each other, self-help groups where we advise and just support and share through people's journeys at IBM and being neurodivergent. Next slide, please. In 2015, we started this business resource group, but then, as it grew, we started off with the UN Autism Awareness Day and Autism as a Skill BRG group was started. By 2016, we had 500 odd members. By 2017, we started hiring employees who who came out as being neurodivergent. By 2019, we had 1,400 members. We launched an actual autistic task workforce. And in 2020, we formalized the Neurodiversity at IBM program, launched the actually Neurodivergent Task Force, and hired neurodivergent employees in 6 countries. This has been a journey of building awareness, increasing acceptance, and improving advancement. Currently, we hire in 11 countries where we clearly call out our neurodivergent skills. We have 3,500 plus IBMers who have completed Neurodiversity 101 training. 30 plus countries enabled. It's in 10 languages, and 250 plus employees have taken an ND Ally badge. These are all important parts in the company becoming more inclusive and accepting how to work with people who are neurodivergent. The program differentiators, even though IBM is not the first company to come up with a business resource group. 1, it's global neurodivergent and enablement hiring around the world. 2, collaboratively managed by neurodivergent and neurotypical employees, clearly living the motto, nothing about us without us. And 3, finally, providing a safe space for employees with our task force, actually autistic and actually neurodivergent Slack channels where, like I mentioned earlier, we ask each other for help and suggestions and advice on how to handle particular situations. I'd like to give you another example, especially since we're from India, as you would have understood and realized how important the phone was in your lives over the last 2 years. But in reality, which is a better phone, an Android phone or an iPhone? Think this through. I have an experiment where I'd like you to define which system runs better. Is it the Apple or is it the Android? But as you start interacting with neurodivergence, you will realize that neurodivergence run on a different operating system. They're not broken. It's just that the way you interact with them and hope that they should interact with you is not the way you want. So it's important to come with a more open mind and collaborative approach, because that's the only way you can have multiple platform interactions. Start your journey towards being neurodivergent by being aware, accept, and identify small steps through which you would advance in your journey. How do you do that? You get educated. You consider unconscious biases, microaggression, use empowering language and icons, realize a well-intentionally ally can do more harm than good, and understand that awareness can still cause discrimination. As you move to the next point, which is about increasing acceptance, you'll realize that it's important to put your education and allyship to use. Share your knowledge about the neurodivergent talent and help fill skills gap. And you will realize that not only by celebrating those differences, you're able to achieve much more. And finally, by improving advancement, you can ensure neurodivergent voices are heard and sought after, involve neurodivergence and discussions and decisions that affect the neurodivergent community, and offer development and leadership opportunities to retain and empower more neurodivergence. In all, it's important that you treat people well. Back to you, Nat.
Hey, Jay, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts and sharing this presentation with me. Being that this is the India Neurodiversity Summit, do you have any closing thoughts to share with your colleagues in India?
Thanks, Nat. I think I would go back to the first point, which is being aware. You need to be aware and you need to make others aware, because you never know who on the other side might be neurodivergent, and how you respond to them is important. So being aware of how you should interact, how you should respond and react when you interact with neurodivergent people is very important. Secondly, kindness. This comes from acceptance, where you realize that it takes all kinds of people to get together to achieve a project. So these are the two most important things, being aware and being kind. It just allows a lot more to happen faster and better in life. Thank you.
JJ, if you had any advice to give to someone who feels they are neurodivergent, but still hasn't found the courage to share, what advice could you give to them?
Identify somebody in the office or in your social circle and share with them that your suspicions. And you'd be surprised to find that most people would go out of their way to help you. So just be honest to yourself. There's nothing, you do not have to hide anything. You need to work with what you have. So find someone, be honest about it, and then from there work on with everyone to help each other achieve the common goals.
I love that advice, JJ, because we all start with one step. And sometimes fear of ourselves, I have that even myself. Asking help takes courage, and sharing our authentic selves takes courage. Well, JJ, thank you so much for sharing this time with me, and thank you so much for our listeners, and I hope you enjoy the rest of the summit. Thank you, and enjoy the rest of your day.